Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from, everybody. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth. Happy Friday. It's August 5th. Hope you're well today. Going to get started with today's live stream. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so for people to jump on and join us. But if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the live chat. And hopefully we'll get Matt Lamers on the stream with us as well. And who knows, maybe even one day he'll come on my channel and we can have a discussion in detail. We can have some thoughtful discourse back and forth, but just sit tight for another 10-20 seconds. We'll get started. I see we have some people joining us. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining the live stream. And anyone else, let me know where you're tuning in from. St. Louis, nice. Welcome, welcome. Happy to have you. All right, going to get started with today's live stream. This video is going to be a little bit of a different video here today. Obviously, I did a video earlier on with regards to Canopy Growth reporting their Q1 2023 earnings, less than ideal and pretty atrocious in terms of the loss. It came from an impairment loss from the goodwill. But essentially in this video, going to be discussing a reporter by the name of Matt Lamers, who works, I believe, for MJBIZDAILY. He pointed out today in a tweet, he pointed out the amount of Canopy losses over the last 9 years. And it equated to about $6 billion in a total loss. So I'm going to go over my thoughts and opinions on this. Personally, I think there's a lot more that needs to be said versus just pointing out the amount of losses. There's a reason why there's a loss. There's a reason that you may not see in the sheer numbers just yet, right? So before we get to it, though, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos. See, we have quite a few people joining us. So again, welcome to the live stream. Made it on in time from Montreal. Welcome, welcome. Finally able to watch a stream. Yep, you bet. Welcome, welcome. I appreciate it. All right. So like I said, not just before we get started, I just want to clear the air that I'm not, trying to make anybody feel bad or, make anybody feel stupid or anything like that. That's not the point of this video. I'm just sharing my opinions. And this is Matt Lamers here that I'm going to be highlighting one of his tweets. So it says here he's a reporter, international editor at MJBIZDAILY, right? DM's open, email, he gives his email, and then his opinions are his. So obviously everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have your own opinion, and we can all disagree on a certain subject and still be friends, right? So that's not the purpose of this video. I have no hard feelings against this person. I don't even know him, to be honest with you. And Matt, if you're on the stream or if you are listening, I would love to have you on my channel at some point soon too, right? Because like I said, we can have thoughtful discourse even if we don't agree on a certain subject. I'm sure there's a lot of subjects we agree on as well, but this one I clearly had a little bit of an issue with it. Not an issue, but I just feel like there was the tweet that you made with regards to Canopy's losses was very biased and one-sided, and it wasn't very objective. And I wanted to come on and give my 2 cents, and that's why I'm thankful for the platform that I have, because I can come on here and use this to get to the truth, right? All I'm trying to do is uncover the truth. And what I've learned early on as a young individual in my career is, as a young man, investing in financial markets are all about what makes the most sense, right? So why would all these companies be incurring all these losses? We'll talk about that in a moment. But just so you know, we're probably in agreement on a lot of different things, but clearly there's some things that we might not agree on, just like anybody, but we can disagree and still be friends, or we can have you on the channel and we can have some thoughtful discourse. You can try to persuade me and I'll try to persuade you, and we can even interact with we can do it a live stream as well, and we can interact with the community, and we can get a lot of what the community is feeling. And it's easy to point the finger at a name like Canopy because of the wealth destruction gone on the stock over the last 9 years. So just to reiterate, Canopy reported a $2.1 billion loss on a massive MJ unit impairment. So that came from goodwill. So realistically, 1.7 of that 2.1 billion was goodwill, right? So obviously not great. I'm not trying to polish a turd here. Obviously, I've been saying on my channel, and everybody in the chat, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. And if you can let me know in the chat, have I not been saying that Canopy is going to struggle for the last year? So all my OG subscribers, I've been saying for a long time now that, and I just recently bought back Canopy. My average is like $3, a little over $3 Canadian. And I recently just bought it back after selling it about a year and a half ago. And I said that I believe that it was in for a world of hurt because of the fact that, Tilray was going to acquire Aphria. They were going to lose market share. I was forecasting that, and I knew that Canopy was heavily reliant on the U.S. And when the U.S. didn't legalize, and when it looked like it was going to happen soon, even David Klein, the CEO of Canopy, said that it's going to be probably years now. And they thought it was going to be in a couple of years, but now it's going to, from the time that they said it, when they initially thought it was a couple of years ago, they thought it'd be in a couple of years, right? But now it's looking like it might not be for another 4, maybe 5 years, right? Maybe it could be sooner, but it could be another 4 or 5 years out. And I think that's why Canopy is really struggling, is because they're heavily reliant on the U.S. legalization, right? We know that they're going to acquire acreage, so that's their main mergers and acquisition. They acquired Supreme, right? But that wasn't a very large acquisition comparatively to Tilray and HEXO and Redecan, Zenabis, 48 North, all that. But I just wanted to mention that I did do a video on their earnings. You can check that video out if you haven't as well. But I did a video yesterday going over the key differences between Canadian LPs, but also not just Canadian LPs, all MJ companies. They're all very drastically different. Some are focusing on different geolocations. Some geographic locations are different than the others. Some focusing on international. Some are focusing on medical. Some are focusing on retail. Some are focusing on MJ only. Some are focusing on distribution and wellness and alcohol, beverage, things like that. So, I think all of these companies can have a place in a long-term portfolio. And at the end of the day, I think it all comes back to the fact that we all need to drop the tribalism. Once again, I want all MJ to do well. So I hope Canopy does well. I hope Tilray does well. I hope HEXO does well. I hope all the Canadian companies on a level playing field do well. And I hope all of the United States companies and retailers, the high tides of the world, I hope they do well as well. And I really hope that, the US MSOs like Trulieve and Green Thumb and everybody else, even the small caps, hopefully, Body and Mind, I really like them too. I hope they all do well. And I think that, there's enough market share. There's going to be enough, the sizable market for all of these companies to do well, right? Look at how many alcohol companies there are. Look at how many tobacco companies there are. Look at how many computer companies there are. So, and think about it. Apple didn't do well initially when the industry got off the ground either. It almost went bankrupt in 1997 if it wasn't for Microsoft saving them from bankruptcy, right? So again, we want all companies to do well, and I want everybody on this stream to do well. And again, I'm not doing this to pick out, to point fingers or to belittle anybody. I'm just going over difference of opinions here. So this is what sparked it, and a Power Group member, Sean, actually posted this. So shout out to you, Sean, for bringing this to my attention. But essentially, I am following Matt Lamers. He's got, 8,000 followers? I think so. But a little over 8,000 followers. So, I've been following him. He does some really great work. So, Matt, if you're listening, I appreciate your work. Thanks for everything you do. But I would have to say that I did have some comments that I wanted to add to this tweet. So the tweet reads, updated, Canopy Growth has lost $6 billion selling MJ since, I don't want to say that, YouTube algorithm doesn't like it, since 2015. Losses for the year ended March 31st. So it goes over the last 9 years, you can see here. But I mean, 2.1 billion was from this quarter, and it's just one quarter for 2023 so far. And 1.7 of that was goodwill, right? So, I mean, if you take out this one and these two, there's really not that big of a loss, right? When you think about it. But also think about, well, I'll backtrack here a little bit. I'll go into that in a moment. So he says, since 2015, losses for the years ended March 31st. And then he goes over, he totals it up, and it's about $6 billion that they lost. Okay. So what do you guys see on this tweet? Do you agree with this tweet? Does it make you mad? Does it make you happy? Is there things you agree with? Do you not agree with? Let me know in the comments. This is why I made this a live stream today. I'd love to get your feedback. Do you think that he's correct? Do you think he raises a good point? Do you think there's things that he left out? Do you agree with him, disagree with him? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I see we have quite a few people joining us. So from Montreal too. Nice. Welcome. Yeah, everybody on the stream, let me know what your thoughts are. I'm just going to have a quick drink of water and then I'll give my thoughts. And like I said, hopefully I can have him on, or even somebody from MJBIZDAILY. But let me know what you think of this tweet. So while you're typing that out, I will give my thoughts and opinions on this. So first and foremost, he's not wrong, right? He's obviously, it's just facts. But what does he fail to mention? He fails to mention that there's a reason why they're losing money. There's a reason why they have such a huge amount of, $6 billion over the last 9 years. That's not a small amount of money, and by any stretch of the imagination. And then a lot of people are saying that David Klein gets paid way too much, like $40 million a year, and they're losing billions. Okay, well, for comparative sake, again, I know people are going to get triggered. Apple CEO got paid I think almost $1 billion or something like that for the last year, and it had like stock options and things like that. But again, I know Apple's profitable, one of the biggest companies in the world, but almost $1 billion, like 700 million, I think it was, versus David Klein's 40 million. Okay, I understand. I don't think David Klein should be getting 40 million a year, right? But it's not that much compared to like a Tim Cook at Apple, right? Or like a Elon Musk. They're getting billions, right? And hundreds of millions. Whereas David Klein, the CEO of Canopy, is getting 40 million. That's still way too much, in my opinion. I agree. Maybe it should be 10 or 20 million, or maybe even that could be argued as too much. But you got to think, he came from Constellation Brands, the maker of Corona beer. That's $57 billion company. I think their enterprise value is. Let's just take a look at it real quick. Constellation Brands, Yahoo Finance. I think their enterprise value is like 57 billion. Okay, so you have to remember, this dude David Klein came from from Constellation Brands to go to Canopy Growth, and the enterprise value of 57. I was right. So $57.19 billion is what Constellation Brands was worth, and he was an executive at Constellation. So if he's getting 40 million a year, that's not that much when you think about it, considering it's a 57. He used to work for a $57 billion company, and Canopy was valued at like 15 billion or 10 billion at one point. Obviously, the lay of the land has changed a lot, and it's not just Canopy, it's all MJ. And even Trulieve and even GTII, like, what's their excuse, right? All these high tides of the world, they have great fundamentals, great financials, but yet they're down 80-90% as well, right? So what's their excuse? And the whole reason why is because we're in a bear market, right? So once laws start to change, like at a federal level, we're going to see a huge turnaround, right? We're going to see a massive explosion in terms of price. All of these companies, not just Canopy, not just the Canadian operators, but the U.S. operators are extremely undervalued at the moment. So again, I just don't think he was being 100% intellectually honest. I think he's letting his bias and I like honest reporting, and it seems like he clearly, like, I'm not a reporter, I'm not an editor, I'm not telling him how to do his job, or if you're listening, Matt, I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just saying, as somebody objectively looking in, it doesn't seem like you were painting the whole picture. It seems like you have a bias and a hate on for Canopy, which is fine. I was very bearish on them for the last year, and everybody in the comments here can attest to that, in the community and in the POW group community as well. But then he goes on to reply here. So, and because Twitter is just so terrible, you can't just put the whole thing in one message. You got to break it into like 10 different tweets, because they like to make it convenient like that. I despise Twitter for that reason. That's the thing that I dislike the most about Twitter, and no edit button. But Canopy is now the biggest money-losing machine in the MJ industry, surpassing Aurora, which lost approximately $5.4 billion. Well, again, not a really great comparison, because Aurora is pivoting its whole business. It sold its flagship facility in Aurora, Edmonton, the Sky facility. It is pivoting away from recreational and focusing on medical. So a little bit of a different. I agree, though, Aurora was a cash cow and just wealth destruction. The two businesses together have lost over $10 billion. They're also the two most subsidized MJ producers in the world, courtesy of CA Freeland. Okay. Why has Canada been heavily subsidizing MJ production for two producers amid a massive historic glut of MJ production? To save jobs. How many jobs were saved? They permanently laid off a lot of people, which is true, right? Pro tip for pro stock analysis: Canopy's second biggest problem is they embarked on a deliberate business transition to focus on higher margin premium MJ. Problem is that put them head to head with Micro, who's been frank, are much better at this sort of thing. Yeah, but I would say that, based on the fierce competition, we're going to see a lot of the smaller names and a lot of the smaller companies start to go the way of the dodo, right? Because they're just not going to be able to keep up. But Canopy's biggest problem, since no one asked, is they can't sell budget MJ either. All part of this trend, the biggest Canadian MJ producers as a whole sell only a fraction of their production. And again, I understand there's things that Canopy could have did better. There's things that all MJ companies could have did better, right? But the fact is we have high excise taxes. There's still limitations on 30 grams per order in Canada. There's still limits on drinks. It's not just we can't buy it in grocery stores or convenience stores yet. Can't even get it at restaurants, bars, events, venues. So it's not just MJ in Canada, right? And you got to think, Canopy has a ton of business in the U.S. and has a ton of endorsements, and they just signed a deal. I did a video with Alek Manoah. They signed a deal with Toronto Blue Jays' Alek Manoah. They signed a deal. They took a majority stake in BioSteel, which was part of that. They are partnered with tons of other different. They have a ton of brands, right? Stores and Bickle. They have BioSteel. They have. Forget what the name of their CBD business is in the U.S., but even Drake signed a partnership, an endorsement deal with Martha Stewart, right? Big names, right? And again, they're relying heavily on acreage. Once federally permissible, they're going to be able to integrate, MJ into the BioSteel lineup, right? They're going to be able to do all these different type of CPGs, and then when Canada relaxes all the laws and regulations and limitations, that's going to only help as well, right? And then through the acquisition of acreage, they'll essentially turn hybrid, and they'll be in Canada and the U.S., right? What MSO or what other company do you know other than HEXO, Tilray, and Canopy that have the footprint that they have, right? So you say Canopy's $6 billion losses are not representative of the Canadian MJ industry. They only represent the outcome of the decision made by Canopy's management. So I responded, and because of how terrible Twitter is, I'm going to try not to bounce around here too much and get this all in linear format. But I said, replying to Matt Lamers and at MJBIZDAILY, I said, I get it, but it seems you are failing to realize or point out that Canopy, Tilray, and HEXO are all dominating in Canada and internationally, and has the U.S. foundation built and ready to go. No other companies are even close to these big three, in my opinion. There is a reason why they are spending so much / seeing such big losses. That being said, could they have done a better job? Yes, but the government is also to blame with high excise taxes and limitations on the industry and holding it back. They also thought that the U.S. would have legalized by now, and Canopy is heavily reliant on U.S. legalization. Things will change in a hurry once federal laws start to change. Canopy has a lot of great assets and brands, in my opinion, and is too big to fail. International medical MJ net revenue grew approximately doubled and versus Q1 2022, driven primarily by strong sales in Israel and Australia. All right, source Canopy earnings today. And again, I responded. But again, because of how terrible Twitter is, it's so impossible to I don't know where my other tweets went. It's just, this is why I despise Twitter. You can't just easily copy and paste it into one message. Frustrating. Let me know if you know where I'm coming from here on the whole Twitter. I guess if you're not a content creator and want to go on a big, if you want to put out a big tweet, right? It's very inconvenient to break it up into 5. But like I said, there was 3 other tweets that I put here. No idea where they went. But essentially, I was going on to say that Tilray has 20% market share in Germany, and Irwin Simon, the CEO of Tilray, just said on a I think it was CNBC interview or some interview, I can't remember, or maybe it was Benzinga. He said that HEXO and Tilray together have a 30% market share in Canada. I thought that was a little high, but he said recently that it's like 30%. And so if they have 30% market share in Canada, Tilray has 20% market share in Germany, and now HEXO is going to be sourcing their products from Tilray for Germany. That's going to probably put their market share up even higher, Tilray's market share up even higher in Germany. What other company is doing that, right? What other MSO or MJ company can you think of in Canada that has the footprint that Tilray and Canopy and HEXO have, right? We know that they're all selling into Israel and Malta, Australia. Germany's going to be a big one coming online. And yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And then I also said that these companies are drastically different than an MSO, where they don't have nearly as big of a footprint, right? MSOs are still trying to figure out the U.S., right? They don't even have national distribution in the U.S., and there's 300 and some million people, right? So the Canadian companies, they have all of Canada nationwide distribution, right? And majority market share in Canada. Then they have majority market share in Germany, majority in other international markets, and they have the foundation built and ready to go in the US. And upon federal legalization, Canopy will acquire acreage, and Tilray will acquire MedMen, which will give HEXO and Tilray access into California and other retail markets into the US, right? So again, they will become hybrid essentially, and good luck to the rest of the other companies, right? And this is why I think that they're drastically different. And you can't just look at these numbers and say, oh, they lost $6 billion, the end, right? It's why did they lose $6 billion? Why are all these companies losing so much money? Why is it over just the last few years as well? It's because they think that U.S. legalization is inevitable and it's imminent. And if that's the case, and it's a $100 billion industry in the U.S. alone, wouldn't you want to have a piece of the pie? Wouldn't you want to take a little bit of a loss short term in order to gain long term, right? It's the most important, think about it. The U.S. companies still haven't even gotten all of, I don't even think there's any MSO that's in half of all the United States. Then they'd have to get Canada figured out. Then they have to get international and, Europe and Latin America, all that other stuff figured out, right? So there's a huge undertaking, right? And the only way that these MSOs are going to get there is by incurring a ton of CapEx, which is capital expenditures, and or mergers and acquisitions, which will likely result in a lot of dilution / cash requirement and impairments, just like we've seen with the Canadian LPs and what they've experienced, right? So in order to gain market share, there's only a couple of different ways to get there. Buy facilities and then convert and start from the ground up and, vertical integrate everything and then buy a facility, retrofit it, or buy another existing company. But all of that's going to require cash, dilution, and impairments, right? So I said also the US price point is not sustainable. These companies in Canada are learning how to become extremely lean and profitable at an extremely attractive and economical price point. Some companies in the US are charging $20 USD a gram. That is silly in my opinion, and it won't last. Either people will go back to the black market, or companies like Tilray, HEXO, and Canopy, once they enter the US market upon legalization, Canopy through acreage and Tilray and HEXO through MedMen, they're going to just completely disrupt the market, right? And it'll force the MSOs to lower their prices. But not just that, the MSOs are going to have fierce competition from other MSOs that are up and coming, right? From new licenses being approved and things like that. So they're going to have competition in their own backyard, let alone whenever, Canopy and Tilray take acquisition of acreage and MedMen, right? So I just really wish that people would start to see both sides of the coin, to be intellectually honest. That's all I'm trying to do here is see both sides of the coin. I'm not trying to defend Canopy. I know there's a lot of bad things that they did and they could have done a ton of things better. I'm not disputing that fact. I'm just saying there's a reason behind there's a method to their madness. And it's not just Canopy that's struggling in terms of share price and things like that and losses. It's a lot of the MJ companies in Canada. And that is because they're building the foundation for global scaling, right? They're scaling globally. It's not like they're building the foundation. They already basically have it laid out and built, right? So again, I think we need to be a little bit more intellectually honest. And instead of cherry picking the data and presenting it in a way that fits our bias, we need to kind of start looking at things objectively. Let me know in the comments. We have quite a few people still with us here. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me, right? And we just want to be a mature adult and look at it from both sides of the coin. Like I said, investing is about what makes sense. And it wouldn't make sense for them to just keep spending billions and billions, losing billions and billions if they didn't have a plan, right? We're talking Constellation Brands here behind Canopy, which now owns a majority stake in Canopy, which is the beer maker, Kim Crawford Wines, I believe it is, and Corona Beer. We've got Molson Coors with HEXO and now partnered with Tilray. Why is Altria with Kronos? Why is British American Tobacco with Organigram if they're all garbage, right? It's because there's a reason. They're preparing. They've already got 4 years almost of operation under a legal blueprint, and they have the footprint not just in Canada. Not only do they have nationwide distribution in Canada, they have international, and they have the foundation ready to go and plans ready to go for the U.S. Not to mention Canopy, Tilray, and HEXO all went through some major cost-cutting initiatives, and we're going to see that in the next few quarters, in my opinion, on the SG&A. We're going to see it on the COGS, and we're going to see all of this this cost-cutting initiative really start to hit the numbers, right? And we're going to see that reflected. And I believe, like BNN Bloomberg says, and I I really like B&M Bluebird because they seem to be less biased and more in terms of honesty, right? They want to know the truth. And what they said was the days of unprofitable LPs are numbered. And I would 110% agree. Once the tide changes, once these companies turn a profit and we see regulatory changes in the US, it's going to be like you blink and these companies are just going to skyrocket, right? I'm telling you. Also, BioSteel just signed a deal with the NHL and the NHL Players Association. Like you think all of this is happening for no reason? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Again, I did all these videos. You can check them out. Canopy earnings video today. But yeah, BioSteel, huge deal with Blue Jays' Alek Manoah. BioSteel signs a deal with NHL and NHL Players Association. It headed on the draft. Right? Why would all this be happening if it was just garbage and not worth it and they're just burning and they're never gonna? And then I think he responded. Yeah. So he did respond. Oh, there's all my tweets. See, this is how annoying Twitter is. So yeah, there they are. So Tilray, 20%. Yeah, okay. I basically just summarized all that. And this guy, so marijuana, or I forget I said it, shouldn't have said that. MJ Stock Trader says, how much do you have in their stock? Very little. Average is $3 CAD. Only 5% of my MJ portfolio. I just like truth and intellectual honesty. Right? Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. And then, as I've stated many times, I've never invested in MJ stocks or anything related to MJ. Well, yeah, I've been studying MJ and MJ stocks and investing in it for since 2017. I know quite a bit about it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'll gladly have you on to debate. And if you want to really, come on my show and it's kind of hard to go back and forth like this, but if you want to come on and talk about it as mature adults, like obviously we'll keep it civil, right? Like I'm not hating on anybody. Like I appreciate the work that you do, Matt, and I just disagree with you a little bit on this one fact, and I didn't really agree with the way you presented it because you didn't present all the facts. You were very, very biased, and you're not looking under the hood. There's a reason why they're doing all of this, right? You seem to be very salty every time you post. Interesting. He does seem very salty. I agree. I provide analysis, data, and commentary for the industry that has produced losses well over $15 billion so far by a handful of companies. No salt, maybe a little sugar, though. Yeah. Anyway, I don't have time to go through all of it. But yeah, even somebody else in the comments was pointing out that he seems salty and very biased, right? So it's clear that he has a bearish bias. But let's be the adults in the room here. Is MJ going away? Is Canopy signing deals with the Blue Jays? Are they signing the NHL, the National Hockey League? Right? Like, you don't have to be a genius here to figure out that there might be something behind this whole Canopy thing. Personally, I don't think they're going anywhere. I did a video on, are they going bankrupt? I think that's FUD, not fact. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. I don't think they're going bankrupt. I think that Canopy is probably going to be worth $50 to $100 billion company at some point, maybe 3, 5, 10 years out, a decade out. But I think Canopy will be worth, I think Tilray is going to be even bigger, and I think HEXO will be right there with them. But then I think there's going to be some winners in the US. I think there's going to be some winners from Europe, right? I'm telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And it just seems like he's feeding off of the negativity, but not presenting all of the facts and the sides of the coin. And like I said, there's a reason why like these Canadian companies, they're losing so much money, and it's because of the regulatory limitations and the federal government in Canada holding the industry back, whether it be through taxes or just not opening up. They're supposed to be revising the MJ Act. I think it was like months ago now, like 3 or 4 months ago, and they haven't even done anything yet. They said that they were going to be upping the drink limitation to 48 drinks from 5. That hasn't happened yet, right? So it's easy to point the finger at again, I'm not trying to defend Canopy. There's things that Canopy could have did a lot better. Yes, every MJ company could. any company in general, not just MJ, right? Like I said, Apple almost went bankrupt in 1997. So again, we just kind of need to wake up and smell the coffee beans a little bit here, right? So let me know in the comments. Like I said, I know we have quite a few people here with us. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me. If you agree with Matt, disagree with Matt. Again, all I'm trying to do is to give my honest opinion. I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell them what they need to hear, and I will challenge anybody and anybody's ideas if I don't feel like they presented it in an intellectually honest way, or if they're deceiving, or if I just don't agree with it at all, right? I will easily call it out. And me calling people out doesn't mean that I don't like them or have a hate on for them or anything like that. I actually really respect this Matt Lamers dude and the work that he does. I'm just saying that I don't agree, and we're all allowed to have difference of opinions, freedom of speech, right? And again, we can all disagree or agree. Doesn't mean we don't have to be friends, right? So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, if you agree with me. What's your takeaway from all of this? And this is why I love doing these. That's why I'm so thankful I have this platform, and I come on and do these live streams, is because people like this can see, right? People can come on and watch this video, see how I'm thinking, see how everybody here is thinking, and we can get to the most logical conclusion, right? Versus, going back on Twitter is kind of annoying. It took me 5 minutes just to find my other tweets, but like I said, I have nothing against Matt. Again, I really respect the work that he's doing, but he clearly, like this individual down here said, he's clearly salty, right, on the industry. So anyways, cheers. I must say, I think $40 million a year for any 9-to-5 job is absurd, particularly when the company is not showing profits and burning through investor funds. Yeah, I agree, right? Like, obviously, but he's an executive from Constellation Brands, right? He's coming from a $57 billion corporation where he was an executive. They're not going to get him in there for a little bit of money, right? They're going to have to pay him big bucks because he was getting paid the big bucks as it were, right? So, but let's just, again, I know you're going to get somebody who's like, oh my God, he's comparing Canopy to Apple. Compensation. Again, I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying there's a lot other people. He received stock worth in 2021. He received over 5 million shares of Apple stock on Thursday, and that was worth over $750 million. So he made almost $1 billion in 1 year. Again, very different, I know. But Apple almost went bankrupt in 1997. You don't understand. When the industry was new and they were still figuring the industry out, and then Apple got saved by Microsoft from $150 million investment, and Apple got saved by Microsoft from bankruptcy, and then they formed a partnership and they went on to shape the industry together. Did Apple just get to this on their own? No, they had help from Microsoft. Does it remind you of anything, right? Yeah, it reminds you of the growing pains in the MJ industry, just like the technology sector, right? And now look, right? Tim Cook received $750 million. Granted, the stock is doing a lot better. It's one of the most profitable companies on the planet and worth the most in terms of market cap and valuation. But $750 million is a hell of a lot more than $40 million, right? And we're talking about a guy who came from Constellation Brands, the owner, the maker of Corona beer, right? So I wouldn't expect him to be there for $400,000, right? Like, that's how much the president gets paid. And we're talking about how much was Canopy worth at one point? I think 15 billion. 15 billion. Maybe an enterprise value of 20 billion. So again, yes, it's easy to say now they shouldn't get paid that much because prices are down. But what would happen? Or imagine if Canopy had a valuation of 20 billion and the stock price was at $100 right now. Everybody would be like, oh, I love David Klein, right? Well, that doesn't mean it can't get there, right? Just because the stock price was once at $56, it could go there again, right? So even if the stock price was back at $56, I bet you a lot of people would be like, pay him $50 million, who cares, right? But yeah, it's different. But again, a lot more people, there's a lot more people that get paid a lot more money. But again, Apple didn't have it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows either. In 1997, it almost went the way of the dodo. It almost perished, went bye-bye, right? And then Microsoft said, no, we won't let them just go bankrupt. We'll partner up and we can complement each other. Remind you of anybody? Tilray, HEXO. They even said it on the BNN Bloomberg article. So that's why I love BNN, man. They're very good, honest reporting. Really, really like BNN. Shout out to BNN. Bloomberg. But I agree. Like maybe he should only get 20 million. Like maybe there should be a clause if they're not profitable, he should only get like 20 million. I don't know. I'm not a CEO. I'm not an executive. I didn't come from Constellation Brands, the beer maker of Corona. Like maybe he's worth it. Maybe there's a reason why he's getting paid the big bucks. That I kind of sit on both sides of the fence. I agree he shouldn't be paid 40 million while they're losing billions. But also $40 million for an executive that comes from a $57 billion company, Constellation Brands, isn't that much money. And then Tim Cook alone in stock received $750 million last year, right? You don't see anybody saying anything about that because Apple's making a ton of money, right? But that's still, I would argue that's still way too much for any CEO to get paid, right? Even if they're making that much money, right? I don't think anybody should get $750 million for being a CEO, personally, if you want to know my honest opinion, right? But I don't get envious of that just because somebody makes more money than me. I really don't care. But yeah, I can see both sides of the argument. Canopy and Tilray should merge. Yeah, it seems like Tilray's just buying everything, so wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think that's likely. Maybe later on we'll see. I don't know. It's really going to depend on U.S. legalization. I think it's going to happen sooner than later, personally. Tilray is the Philip Morris of MJ. Yep. MSOs are busy making small profits in their little towns. Yeah, and like to be fair, I own MSOs. I own American operators in MJ. I own Canadian operators in MJ. I own retailers in MJ. I own ETFs. I own small caps, large cap, medium caps, right? I own it all. And I want them all to do well. But it would be naive to say that nobody in Canada is going to do well or become a winner. There's going to be winners and losers all over the globe, right? Oh, you're from Texas. Nice. Welcome from Texas. But yeah, like you got to think MSOs have a monopoly right now and they're selling like $20 a gram. That's not sustainable. I was in Las Vegas and went to Planet 13. They were literally charging me like almost $20 for 1 gram. And one gram joint was $20. It's like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, and I just got a 28 grams from Bake Sale here in Canada for $62 for 28 grams, tax included. And it wasn't too far off in terms of percentage. And that ends up being $2.21 a gram. So $25 US, 20 US, so $25 a gram in the States versus $2.21 Canadian here. So $25 versus $2.21, right? Pretty big difference. So imagine what happens when Canopy acquires acreage and Tilray acquires MedMen, and then HEXO and Tilray get their products in through MedMen, right? And then not only that, what happens when all the other MSOs, what happens when all these other small cap and medium cap MSOs start to figure out how to be profitable and drive their costs down and start competing at a more, because like not only is it black market, it's also other MSOs are going to come in and do it better, right? If it's not sustainable, that those prices aren't going to sustain itself. But yeah, MSOs don't even have all of the US figured out yet, let alone Canada and Germany and Malta and Israel and Australia, Mexico, right? And the only way they're going to be able to get to there is by acquiring, just like Trulieve went through some acquisitions. All these big companies, they're going to have to do acquisitions, and then they're going to have impairments. They're going to have dilution. They're going to have, it's going to eat their cash reserves. They're going to go through a lot of the same problems, right? Or they're going to have to buy facilities and retrofit them. It's almost easier to just acquire companies. And then also that way you get to acquire their license. And we know that some states aren't allowing any more licenses. So that's a big reason why Trulieve entered Arizona, is because they were no longer offering any licenses there. And that was a big key market. And that simple way, just go on a buying spree, right? And we're going to see a lot more consolidation in the space. And that's why I think we need to drop this tribalistic natures, because pretty soon, a lot of these companies are going to merge, and a lot of the companies that we're all individually investing in are going to become one. And then we're all going to be one big happy family, right? And it's going to end up going there anyway. But again, for people who can't see past their own nose, and if you're just looking at sheer numbers, whether it be this loss of $6 billion over the last 9 years since 2015, or whether it be the hundreds of millions of dollars that these MSOs are generating, Well, that's not sustainable, and it's not an accurate representation of their business because we're not factoring in U.S. legalization. We're not factoring in expansion into the rest of the U.S., not only the U.S., but Canada and abroad and other international markets, right? And there's again, we're not factoring in the sustainability of the prices and the price points and things like that. So, it's going to be interesting. If people think that MSOs are immune to the same problems that MSO or that Canadian LPs have been experiencing, I think you're in for a rude awakening. Again, I own MSOs in my portfolio, right? I'm very big on Curaleaf and Cresco. My biggest MJ holding, though, in the US is MSOS, the ETF. And my biggest MJ holding in Canada is HEXO and then Tilray. Canopy only accounts for about 5% of my MJ portfolio. And that's why you get these people saying, oh, how much Canopy shares do you own? It's very little, and I just took a position. And it's only not even, I don't even think it's 5% of my portfolio, pretty close. But again, people just assume the worst, so they jump to conclusions. I'm just being intellectually honest. And that's something that's I don't know why it's so hard for people to speak the truth these days, to be honest. And when you speak the truth, you get the cancel culture and the social media police that come after you, right? And that's why I'm so glad I have the platform that I have. Any news regarding U.S. legalization this week? I'm a little behind in my DD, due diligence, with work keeping me busy. No, not really. Just a couple things from Cory Booker and things like that about compromises, but no, nothing too earth-shattering at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Tilray and Canopy are talking. Yeah, well, I don't know. Hard to say. I mean, Canopy just did their convertible notes. They issued shares for their convertible debt. So they save their cash. They have a ton of cash on hand, right? If we take a look at their cash on hand, let's see what it is. I think it's like 1 point something billion. I just read it this morning, but now I can't remember. But just get a ballpark. So cash, total cash, 1.38 billion. So they could have easily paid the convertible debt with cash, but they decided to issue shares, and now Constellation is a majority owner in Canopy. And you have to ask yourself, why is Constellation Brands, an American company, the Corona beer maker, so focused on Canopy if it's garbage, right? Doesn't make any sense to me. I'll park my pennies next to their dollars, thank you very much. Right? I'm not going to be listening to people like retail investors on Twitter. You know what I mean? Again, invest in what makes sense. But if they didn't use their cash and they're issued shares, may they be saving their cash for something? Maybe Canopy's going to go in a big acquiring spree, just like HEXO and Tilray. I don't know. I don't think they're going to merge Tilray, because Tilray and HEXO and Tilray and MedMen, like, there's still a lot of things to sort out there. And look how long it took to finalize the deal with HEXO's amendment. Like, they just finished the deal, right? And they're forecasting 80 million savings over the next couple of years. But look how long it took to do that, and they're still integrating all of those changes, right? So yeah, it's hard to say. I don't think it'd probably be a while before that would happen, if it did happen, in my opinion. Agreed. Something is in the making. Are you a day trader? I do some day trading. I haven't been lately because of my channel's just been blowing up lately. And I do live streams in the morning for private members before the market opens, usually about a half hour before the market opens, and then a half hour before the market closes. And with everything, all the lockdowns and everything opening back up again in the economy, I was trading quite a bit during the crisis there, the health crisis. And I like day trading. I'm not a day trader, though. I'm more of a swing trader and an investor. And to be honest, I've got enough cash. I don't really need the money for the day trade. And I don't want to be a slave to the computer, right? The last thing I want to do is be like, and when you day trade, I don't care what anybody says, you need to be 110 focused on your computer. And like, you can't even leave to go like make lunch, right? Unless you set a stop loss and you're okay with, but I never really got in my groove doing that. The way I made the most money day trading was when I was 110% all in, not focusing on anything else, shut the phone off, right? Turn all notifications off and just focus on the charts. And I like to be my own boss, and day trading, like, again, I have more than enough money than I'll ever need for the rest of my life. So I don't need to day trade, and I don't need to be like, hurts the back, hurts the neck. Even when I get a stand-up desk, it's not good. Not knocking anybody who likes to day trade. I'll day trade here and there and stuff like that. But right now, time in the market with regards to MJ is better than timing the market. So investing in long-term at these absurdly low valuations and prices makes more sense to me. And I saw a ton of people trading Bitcoin and things like that. I made $100 here today, made my goal, made $100, made $200. Well, I was day trading a couple of years ago crypto, and I had a buddy of mine who just bought and hold, and he made way more money than me. And I was just like, oh yeah. And plus you're competing with bots and algorithms now. Most trading is basically computers. So you're competing with like the smartest of the smartest algorithms, right? So it gets harder and harder to day trade as time goes on because there's more bots and robots and things like that, and algorithms that you're competing against, right? So I like day trading. Again, there's people, I do it time to time. There's quite a bit of people in the Power Group community who do it and take advantage of my live streams. I do live streams before the market close as well, usually about 30 minutes before the market closes. And I'm constantly, we've got 50 members in my Power Group private community, so I'm constantly tailoring to their questions. It's just too hard for me to focus. And then I'm doing these videos and live streams and prepping content. I do all my thumbnails and editing, video editing. I do it all myself, right? I don't have anybody helping me. So, I'm also buying a condo at the moment, starting a new Airbnb. Is my second condo in the last year, less than a year actually. And I'm getting that place ready as well, right? And I made more money off real estate than anything else. And all I did was I bought a couple properties in an undervalued market in the east coast of Canada, and they over doubled in like 7 years. When have you ever seen a house over double in like 7 years, right? My friend in PEI, Prince Edward Island in Canada, east coast, he bought a house 3 years ago for $200,000. It's worth $400,000 today. 3 years later, his house is worth double, $200,000 to $400,000. So yeah, I had two properties. So, and between that and just buying and holding crypto after the last couple of years in crypto, again, I don't need another dollar in my lifetime, right? So I'm financially set. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking for opportunities. And I think the next big opportunity is going to be MJ, the biggest opportunity in terms of percentage gains. I still think crypto is going to be a bigger asset class. Like there's going to be hundreds of trillions of dollars enter it, right? All the money. The derivative market alone is worth $1 to $2 quadrillion, right? That quadrillion with a Q. That's hard to even fathom. So if crypto even gets 1% of that, not to mention that, stocks, real estate, all the money in the world, right? Crypto could easily be a $50 to $100 trillion industry. Canopy is going to struggle to get to 1 trillion, right? So again, I'm just honest with you guys, right? I'm not trying to fluff things, smoke and mirrors. I think we need to just to promote intellectual honesty more and more, because there's so much misinformation and fake news and biases. And like that guy said, he seems like that he's salty, and a lot of people are salty, and with good reason. I mean, share price is down. People definitely don't get happy and upbeat when things are down 90% right? And posting a loss. So yeah. So short answer, that was a long answer, short answer. I do some day trading here and there. But no, I'm mostly focusing on swing trading and long-term investing. And right now I'm focusing mostly on real estate. MJ is actually one of the smallest parts of my portfolio. I own more crypto than I do MJ. That's starting to change. I'm getting close to about half. It's accounting for about the same amount, but I hold more cash than I do MJ stocks dollar-wise, and I hold more cash than I do crypto dollar-wise. I even have more cash than I do real estate dollar-wise. And then I also have mutual funds. I have short positions on the S&P 500, right? So yeah, everybody's different. So, my way isn't the right way. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm wrong. There's only whatever works for you, right? A clause is a great idea. Incentive. Yeah, exactly. Like have like a bonus, right? Like if a MLB player or an NHL player doesn't get 40 goals or 80 points in a year, their salary goes down a notch or it goes up a notch because they hit a certain clause or type of incentive, right? So I agree. I think that would be something to, but you got to think, right? All these companies are big alcohol, big tobacco, and like Wall Street, right? We know Tilray's the poster child of the Wall Street bankers. It's headquartered in New York now. And I don't think that's a coincidence, right? yeah, like the writing's on the wall, right? All of these, as much as they say they're not going to let, the U.S. government is going to let it be dominated by big alcohol and tobacco, well, the fact of the matter is it is. And it hasn't never changed, and I don't trust any government as far as I can throw them. So why am I going to start trusting them now and believing what they're saying now? Because just like they said, oh, inflation's transitory. Oh, yeah, you're going to print trillions and trillions of dollars in a short period of time. No one's going to go to work and get paid more than they made working, and inflation is not going to be an issue. Okay, I don't have to be a macroeconomic expert and rocket scientist to figure out that is bullshit, right? And now what are they saying? Oh, we're not in a recession. The recession definition is actually not 2 quarters of quarter back-to-back, quarter-to-quarter negative GDP. It's some other bullshit, right? Excuse my French, but that's what they're saying. Like, these people are liars. So no, I don't trust what they say, and I already see it. I don't need them to tell me that the MJ industry isn't going to be dominated by big Wall Street bankers and tobacco companies and alcohol companies, because who has the most to lose? Big alcohol and tobacco from MJ, right? So it's doesn't make logical sense to think anything else. And Altria's partnered with Cron. British American Tobacco's partnered with Organogram. Constellation Brands now is majority ownership in Canopy. And Molson Coors is working with HEXO and Tilray. That's all you need to know. Just tune everything else out, right? If I was going to buy one crypto stock, it's just crypto. Digital asset, I guess, is what you would call it. It's not actually a stock. Stock is a security. A crypto, well, some cryptos could be securities, but cryptos are generally decentralized and not a stock. Stock usually means it's a security. Like if Apple went away, Apple stock wouldn't thrive, right? Obviously, Apple stock is a security of Apple. But if the Ethereum Alliance or like the founders of Ethereum stopped building Ethereum would continue to thrive, right, and trade in the open markets freely because it's decentralized. Well, personally, I don't think Ethereum's fully decentralized, but I would argue that it's more decentralized than centralized at its current state. But like, for example, Ripple and XRP, and again, I'm not going to go too much into crypto. I try to keep the topics for different topics for different videos, whatever, this is an MJ video. Don't want to go too far into crypto, but for example, Ripple is a private company which has Ripple stock, right? You can buy private equity in stock of Ripple, which is a security. You have governing rights in Ripple, but Ripple's being sued by the SEC, claiming that it's selling unregistered securities, which is XRP. Which doesn't make any sense because they don't have any control over XRP. Yes, they hold a lot of it, but it's not proof of stake, so they don't get rewarded or to have any control over the network based on how much they own. It's decentralized, and they control less than 5% of the validators on the network. So that means they can only they barely have any control at all, right? They only have less than 4% of the network validators. It was centralized at one point, but like the SEC crypto mom Hester Peirce was saying, they should create a safe harbor where it takes them so long, they allow you like 3 years to become fully decentralized, and then it's no longer a security, right? It's that construct of decentralization. But XRP is decentralized, and even if the US deems XRP as security, there's already like Singapore and Japan who claimed it as currency, and it will trade freely, right? Doesn't matter what the US does, right? 95% of Ripple sales are going to outside of the US, so that's just an example, right? But if you could only buy one crypto, which would I suggest? I would say XRP. My biggest holdings are XRP, XLM, Algo, Litecoin, Quant, HBAR, Theta, Filecoin. There's a couple other as well. I can't think of it at the moment. Link's another one, big one that I'm into. But if I can only pick one, definitely XRP. JM Losi, 100% agree. Totally agree. Yep. Well, that's the whole reason why I'm so thankful that I have this platform and that I created Pow Group, was because I come on here and I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if people get offended by that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to intentionally offend anybody. I'm just speaking the truth, and I'm telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I try to do it in the most responsible and adult way, right? If anything that I ever say to anybody has come off the wrong way, that's not my intention, right? I'm just trying to get to the truth. And Lord knows, we all know we can all use a little bit more truth and honesty in the world. And again, just take a step back, let emotions, it's easy to look at this as an investor, right? And be like, oh my God, they lost $6 billion. They took all my money and my stock's down 98%. This company's garbage. I hate it. I'm going to slander it for years. I'm going to be so salty. But you hit the buy button. You hit the sell button. Why didn't you take profits when you were up? Why didn't you take out your initial investment? Why didn't you do some more due diligence? Why didn't you diversify? Well, there's so many things we can easily point the finger, right? But this would easily be a completely different situation if the U.S. legalized and we were doing well, right? But the fact is the whole MJ sector's down, and we just have to come to terms with it. And it's not going to be down and out, right? There's definitely going to be losers and winners. A lot of losers, a lot more losers than winners, right? But just because... look at the tech bubble, right? Pets.com and a lot of, AOL and all those initial, like MySpace, where did they all go, right? They're not around today, right? Just because you're first doesn't mean you're going to be the surefire winner, right? Hey, Rod, what's a good entry on Canopy in your opinion? Not financial advice, I know. So I took a position just recently over the last couple of weeks. So if we bring up the Canopy chart here, we had a weekly bear flag target of 233, and I started adding after we confirmed it. So when we dropped below 324 US, that's when I started to add it. And I took one position around 325 Canadian. And then I just started to scale in as we got close to that bear flag target. We actually dropped below it. We hit a low of 213. But personally, anywhere around these levels, if you're looking for a long-term entry, you can't go wrong. Like, we're weekly oversold, we're monthly oversold. Well, we were with that lower wick. Like, if you knew nothing about just technical analysis and investing or charts and things like that, obviously you want to invest in sound companies, but not financial advice, entertainment purposes only. I don't think you can go wrong putting money in Canopy for the long term, personally. And if you just sell when we're up here, when we're overbought, and buy when we're down here, when we're oversold in the monthly time frame, you'll probably do a lot better than, like I always say, 95% of retail investors, right? One thing you might want to wait for as well is we haven't bounced on the monthly really since back in November, and then before that it was the all-time, not the all-time high, pretty much the double top at all-time high. But if you're conservative and you don't want to catch a falling knife and you want to wait to be absolutely sure, maybe you wait for the monthly bounce to get underway. So maybe you wait for a break of resistance at 318. If we break 318 USD, this is on the NASDAQ. If we break 318 USD, we're going to start the monthly bounce, and we have no resistance on the price action until $15.96. So that's a potential upside of 400%. Just to EMA 12 would mean an upside of about 150%. So you could enter just on that bounce alone. Maybe you enter with a stop buy. Maybe if we break 325, you buy, and then you look to take profit around $8, around EMA 12. Or because generally all these exponential moving averages mean is we ebb and flow. We usually get above it quite a bit. We get extended to the upside, and then we come down. We test it as support. We confirm as resistance. We get extended to the downside, but we ebb and flow, and we make our way, gravitate back towards it. We get extended to the upside, but we make our way back. We get extremely downside extended here. What do you think's coming? Probably going to gravitate back to it over the next few over the next few months and over the next year or so, right? Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but odds, I would say, are 80% in the favor of we're going here and 20% that we're going, here. I would definitely put money on going back here based on how oversold we are. But anything can happen, right? We could see one more flush and capitulation if the S&P 500 dropped 10 or 20% here. Anything can happen, right? The only guarantee is there's no guarantees. But as long as you're prepared for all scenarios, that's the only thing, right? The only thing we can control is being prepared for all scenarios. and then looking at what the most likely scenario is. Or you could just take a position now and you could start to dollar cost average, right? So that's one way you could do it. Let's say you're going to invest $1,000. You could buy a little bit now. You could set another order for $250. You could set another order for $225, another for $2, right? You could scale in 3 or 4 different orders, or you could load up now, set your stop below 213 there at the low. There's all different ways you could look. You could wait for weekly consolidation. And then while we're coming down to change the weekly trend for that higher low, you add on that higher low and then set your stop below the low there. That's another way to do it. Just depends on how much risk you're willing to take and also how much capital you're looking to invest. If you're looking to invest $100,000, well, that's going to be a completely different game plan as if you were looking to invest $1,000, right? You probably just put $1,000 in and, kiss it goodbye, and you're probably not going to lose any sleep, right? But if you're putting $100,000 in, your game plan is going to change drastically. Your capital preservation, your risk management and risk tolerance and all that things are going to change, right? But if we go back to all-time highs, you're looking at 20x. So $1,000 investment, it could either go to zero, the most you can lose is $1,000, or it goes back to all-time highs and your $1,000 just turned into $20,000, or it goes to $100 in the next decade, 5, 10 years, and $1,000 worth $40,000, right? So the most you can lose is $1,000. Your upside is unlimited, right? And that's the whole name of the game with investing, right? And obviously the whole sector, both Canadian and USA, is absurdly low valuations, right? Like we know that these prices are not reflective of a company's value, right? We know that this is just absolute ludicrous. These prices are insanely cheap, right? So, yeah. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, if it were me and I didn't own any, I'd probably just buy some now and then just dollar cost average. But again, it depends how much money you want to put into it as well, right? But I definitely, if I didn't own any, I'd definitely be looking to buy at least a little bit now. But again, I only own about 5% of my MJ portfolios in CGC. It's not a big one of my holdings. My biggest is HEXO, then Tilray. I like OGI a lot too. High Tide. What else? Canaro Biotech. Oxley. I've got a bunch. HMMJ, the ETF. I actually typed something before totally agree. Not sure if you saw that. No, I think Boris said the same thing the other day on the live stream. He said he typed something, it wasn't there, and then nobody else in the comments could see it either. But no, I'm not seeing it. The last thing he said in the comments was Texas before totally agree. So I don't know, maybe YouTube removed your comment, or it's just, I don't know, maybe YouTube's glitching, or they shadow banned you or something. I don't know. But obviously your message is coming through now, so I'm not sure. Maybe retype it. Lisa, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining the live stream. Thank you for participating in the chat as well. I'll start watching your videos on XRP. Yep, I just did a video on it actually. Did you know XRP passed Ethereum in market cap in 2018? I highly encourage you to watch that video. That's like a must-watch, can't-miss video. Is now a good time to buy XRP? Absolutely. I would say anytime, just kind of like CGC. If you don't have any exposure, I'd definitely look to buy some now and then save some cash on the side to either dollar cost average or set some limit orders. As you buy, if you buy a little bit now, just set a couple limit orders for 10% cheap, buy every 10% down or something like that, right? Or like buy every week. You can buy it every week when you get paid, or if you don't have the money, right? Like that's another way to do it as well. Also wonder what is a good entry price for Tilray these days. So many questions. Yeah, so same thing, right? If you don't have any exposure to Tilray, you can't really go wrong. We are on verge of confirming a weekly uptrend here with a low high, higher low, and higher high. So if you're a little bit more conservative, maybe you wait for 416 USD to break, because if we break 416 from here, that's going to confirm a weekly uptrend, and we're going to see the monthly bounce get underway, just like CGC. So maybe you want to wait for the monthly bounce to get underway, and then we have a lack of resistance up to 908, right? Or if you're a little bit more aggressive, maybe you're looking to enter now and then dollar cost average, or if you're, a little bit more conservative but not super conservative, you could enter now with a stop below the low there at $3. That's a way to play it as well. You could look to play closer to support. But yeah, and I don't know your situation, right? Everybody's situation is different. Do you own any at all? That's going to drastically change my response. If you don't own any, or you do, then I would say completely two different answers, right? Or what I would do in your situation. So if you give me a little bit more detail too, I can kind of tailor it a little bit more to your particular situation. But hypothetical, if I didn't own any, then yeah, I'd be looking to buy some now, right? Like Tilray was just at $67 back in February 2021. So from current levels just to that high there, not even all-time high, just the February 2021 highs, you're looking at 15x. So $1,000 into $15,000, what's the most you can lose? $1,000. What's the most you can make? $15,000 to $30,000, if not more, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps. But pretty much all of what I said for CGC applies to Tilray. Buy Tilray now. Foolish not to. Yeah, I mean, it's a screaming buy. Like Irwin Simon, CEO, even thinks that Breckenridge, the distillery they bought, is a $100 million brand. So, you know, and then what happens when they add MJ into it? Infused MJ, right? Thanks, Boris. Yeah, thanks for all the comments, Boris, and participation. You've been real value to the channel for sure. Also, odd that HEXO was not mentioned in Kellogg's earnings this week. Yeah, well, that was just speculation. We didn't know. That was just 100% speculation. We know that the first set of edibles is due to the SQDC sometime between the end of summer. That's when management hopes to have it. From HEXO management hopes to have it to the SQDC. But they said it's cookies, granola bars, and other food products as well. So they said by the end of summer, we'll just, you know, we waited this long. It is what it is, right? I'd rather wait a couple months and hopefully the whole sector will reverse and then announce the good news, right? String it all together. But yeah, they said back on April 28th, I think it was, that first products would be at the SQDC in Quebec by the end of summer. It's just the beginning of August, so technically it could be another couple months yet, right? So we just need to be patient. I see is totally agree 100%. Yeah, that's all I see as well. Hey, won't let my comment go through. Yeah, so whatever it is. See, this is why I like POW Group, and I have my own private community. Like this is the community that we have built on Slack. Like we have different channels for MJ, commodities, crypto, electric vehicle stocks. We also have the PowBot algo alert, which is an added service. We also email those alerts out. And then we have these channels where I have the PowBot. So essentially it just automatically pulls all of this news. So MJ news, commodities news, crypto news, everything crypto. I basically never even have to check any news sites anymore, and it's all here, and it just spoon feeds it to me. And it's all separated into each one, and there's no censorship, there's no shadow banning, there's no getting put and timed out. Like I don't know how many times my Facebook account got timed out and suspended because I posted a picture of MJ with the price. And yeah, that's, again, if you want, that's where I spend 100% of my time, basically, is in, if not close to it, is in the POW Group private community, and that's where I get a lot of my raw posts and stuff like that too, like with regards to prices and product reviews and things like that. It's just because it's insane the amount of censorship going on these big platforms, right? This is the nicer version of it. I typed it twice, but anyway, what I was trying to say is we are in a recession. It's just a matter of how long and how severe it's going to be. Yeah, and like I said, I did a post in the POW Group private community, and I said that I got bake sale, 28 grams bake sale from HEXO for $62 with tax, and it's really good. Like, and I did pictures of it and everything, and yeah, it's for $62. And I asked them, I said, how, like they just got it in stock. They didn't even have the sativa. The sativa, in my opinion, is way better. So no wonder they were sold out, but they just got the indica back in. And she said it's been selling like crazy. I'm like, oh, might that have something to do with inflation and the crazy high gas prices and everything? Like an onion costs $5 now. And she's like, oh yeah, no doubt, right? And I've been saying that for months now. Even whenever the government was saying, oh, inflation's transitory, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, no. And then I said, watch for names like HEXO. And again, this is just happening now, right? So it's going to take a couple of quarters for the price to really start to reflect. And like you said, how long are we going to be in a recession for? People are going to stop opting in for that $200 ounce and buy the $62 one, right? Or the cheaper option, right? In my opinion, if it's just as near as good a quality, right? For like a third or fourth of the price. But yeah, that's something that a lot of these MJ companies just aren't going to be able to keep up, right? A lot of challenging times. 416 it is. I was way too aggressive with HEXO. Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, we all learn stuff. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, and that was the point of POW Group, was to help people, learn from my mistakes. And you're still going to make mistakes, regardless if you listen to me or don't listen to me. You're still going to make mistakes. Like, it's just the way the world works. It's how life works, right? But it's about learning from the mistakes, getting back up when you get knocked down, and winning more than you fail, right? So the secret to your success or failure is hidden in your daily routine. That's my favorite quote. It's basically what I live by. There's positives and negatives to everything. You can take good and bad from every experience. Whether it's a good experience, a bad experience, it's all about how you look at it and your mindset. People used to say to me, "Oh, you're into those self-help books?" Yeah, well, it helped me become financially free, so maybe you should consider it. Want to go to the movies Friday? Oh, no, I'm broke. Man. I need a friend to go to the movies. No one has any freaking money lately. It's like the same people that'll chirp you. You're just trying to look out for your fellow friend, right? And, money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. If you don't have it, life's pretty crappy, right? And life's a lot better when you have a lot of it, or when you have enough of it, whatever your version of a lot or enough is, right? I don't want to be I don't need millions and millions and millions. I don't want to be a billionaire, to be honest. I wouldn't want the publicity. Like Connor McDavid, he's not a billionaire, but that guy can't go anywhere, right? The NHL player here in Edmonton could not go anywhere. Would I want that? Hell no. I want to go to a bar and people leave me the hell alone, right? I don't want to walk in and be swarmed and taking pictures, and no, not interested in that whatsoever. And like I said, everybody's different. Invest in MJ now. Next year is too late. 2023 will be crazy, I guarantee you. Yep. Well, like I said, only guarantee is there's no guarantees, but as long as you're prepared for both scenarios, right? Have some now, and at least if you're not all done buying and prices go up, you benefit. But don't go all in now and then dollar cost average, or just continuously add every week or two, right? And just look to do it that way. Whatever you can. Don't stretch yourself beyond your means either. But yeah, I mean, there's always risk. There's always nice reward. There's definitely a lot more reward with MJ right now. But the fact is most people are bag holders, and 98% of retail is selling right now instead of buying, when the opposite should be the case, right? And that's investing, right? Trading and investing is way two different things. And check out powgroup.ca or pursuitofwealthgroup.com. I have the Academy link there. I do a free course. It's like three modules and I think 30 lessons in total. It's all free. So you can sign up for that, and I go over a lot of that too in the Academy. No Tilray, lots of HEXO, some Sundial, and T-God. High Tide, Cresco, Curaleaf. Yeah, so I have Curaleaf, Cresco, High Tide. I don't have any T-God at the moment. I sold that a long time ago at like $3. No interest in buying it back. Rubicon, I think, is a better option in terms of organic. But yeah, T-God seems to be turning it around a little bit, but yeah, Sundial, I just bought a little position in them as well not too long ago after the reverse split occurred, because I knew that would I knew that they were not going to be able to get above $1. I was pretty much guaranteed. And again, nothing's a guarantee, but it was pretty much as close to confident in 100% as I could be. And I knew that they were going to probably do a pretty big reverse split, and then it did, and then the price crashed 20-some%, and that's when I added, right? That's the great thing. Again, something you can learn about these bear markets and these huge downfalls in price is fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, not having it, right? So the second and the third time, we start to learn. What did I learn with Sundial? Okay, be patient. More than likely going to see a reverse split. What happens leading into a reverse split? We usually see a pretty big pullback, right? And that's what I waited for. So there's silver linings to everything, right? And very thankful that the patience that has taught me. I wasn't the most patient person in the world, but I've certainly changed a lot over the years. HEXO, I definitely went too big on HEXO too. So I went pretty big around $5, but I got my average down to I think $1.20 Canadian now, right? But I'm not buying any more HEXO unless we go to 15 cents USD or 10 cents USD. I'll add, 1 or 2 more times or whatever. Don't think we're going to get to 10 cents or even below that. But my bags are packed, and I didn't invest any more than I'm willing to lose. And I also don't just own HEXO. I own Tilray. I own Organogram. I own CGC. I own High Tide. I own Oxley. I'm not going to get at all of them. That's for sure. I own American operators, retailers, ETFs. But yeah, definitely consider adding some Tilray. I've always thought Canopy was a loser. Wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah, and like I said, but you have to, you gotta kind of look at it, right? I've been saying for over a year now that I really expect Canopy to. I said I don't own any of it. I sold it all about a year and a half ago, and I said I expect them to really. And again, HEXO and Tilray are down 90-some%, right? So, I mean, it didn't really matter which one you pick. They're all terrible right now. Even the U.S. operators, the ones with fundamentals and great financials, are down 80-90%. So, from February 21 highs. So, it's not just about fundamentals. Fundamentals don't matter in a bear market, especially in MJ, because we're such a nascent industry. But you have to think, while I was bearish on Canopy, and I knew that they were probably going to lose market share because of their less aggressive approach to mergers and acquisitions and their losses, and they overestimated their capacity and things like that. A lot of that had to do with the black market and the U.S. or just the government again, right? Excise taxes, the government not allowing edible limitations, 10 milligram per pack and 30 grams per order, right? That's just that's feeding more black market, right? So. Again, it's easy to point the finger at Canopy. There's multiple factors, and that's what I was saying about Matt Lamers. Is it's more than Canopy. All the Canadian companies are doing it, and the government's to blame. The U.S. government hasn't legalized, which they were planning for that. But not only that, Canopy has the foundation. They have BioSteel, partnership with the Toronto Blue Jays. They have partnership with the NHL and NHL Players Association. They have stores in Bickle, the leader in vaporizers and manufacturing products. And they have a leading market share in Canada, right? And nationwide distribution in Canada. They said they had doubled the revenue in international because of Israel and Australia, right? And then they're going to have acreage in the U.S., right? So they're preparing for global expansion and domination. Whereas a lot of the U.S. MSOs, they're not losing billions of dollars and they're making money, but they don't even have the U.S. figured out, right? They're not even in half the states, right? So you're comparing apples to oranges. And again, it'd be naive to say that the U.S. isn't going to have some similar issues, right? And again, these companies in Canada are selling grams for $2, $3, $5 a gram. And in the U.S., they're selling it for $15 to $20 U.S. a gram, right? So it's not comparable at all. But to say Canopy's a loser, again, that doesn't make any sense. Constellation Brands is now the Corona beer maker. A lot of you guys probably drink Corona, the beer, right? It's valued at $57 billion, that corporation. Okay? And they now own majority stake in Canopy. Do you think they're going to allow Canopy to be a loser? I don't. That doesn't make any logical sense to me. Their share price has been crushed over the last year, but what MJ company hasn't? They lost a lot of money, but they've been preparing for global expansion. What other MJ company other than HEXO and Tilray and Canopy are doing that? Why do you think Canopy, Tilray, and HEXO are all losing so much money and not making money? It's because their expenses are more than their income, right? Like they're spending more money than they're taking in, and that's because of they're spending all of this money to expand. They're doing in celebrity endorsement deals and things like that, like Canopy and Drake and Martha Stewart, like. There's not even, imagine when they can do advertisements at the Super Bowl and on TV, right? That's all coming. Imagine when we can buy it in the bar, when you can buy drinks in the bar and you can buy cafes and lounges and things like that. I don't know what to tell you. I know people are instant gratification hell-bent. They want everything in three days, not 3 months, not 3 years. But you got to understand, Canopy Growth, Constellation Brands, they're looking 5 to 10 years out, and they're protecting their own business because they have the most to lose. Alcohol and big tobacco have the most to lose from U.S. legalization of MJ. So why do you think all these American companies are investing in Canada when it's legal? Because they have 4 years to get it, the blueprint and to thrive under a legal blueprint. And then whenever it's legal in the U.S., they'll just say, okay, we're going to take over now. And then they got international markets, Tilray 20% market share, and in Germany, Canopy with a big market share in Australia and Israel, and set to dominate the U.S. once federally permissible to do so. It's just going to be a blink, and these companies are going to be off to the races as soon as regulatory changes and hurdles get through, and we get through that in the U.S., right? And not even just the US, at a global level. What's going to happen when all of the globe legalizes, right? Think about it. It's going to be $1 trillion industry. $6 billion loss is going to look like peanuts. And again, Apple almost went bankrupt in 1997. If it wasn't for Microsoft giving them $150 million, Apple would have failed. Okay? So just because their struggles now doesn't mean that they're always going to struggle. And you got to look under the hood. You got to say, okay, well, why are they partnering with the NHL? Why are they partnering with the Toronto Blue Jays, Alek Manoah? Why are they partnering with Drake and Martha Stewart? And why do they have stores in Bickle and BioSteel, which is a huge brand? Right? There's way more than just looking at this and getting triggered by emotions, right? And again, if you let money run your life, you're going to get triggered by this. You're going to get really upset and salty, just like his demeanor's coming off here. But he says he's never invested in MJ stocks. But does that mean that no one ever made money off MJ stocks? No. I know some people that made a ton of money off Aurora, and I know a ton of people that lost a lot of money on Aurora. Does that mean MJ's bad or Aurora's bad? No. Right? Just means that we're all different, and we're all in a different part of our journey, right? Maybe some of us have more to learn than others, or maybe we let emotions take control too much. Maybe we didn't take profit. Maybe we went a little too heavy too quickly. Maybe we didn't diversify. There's a reason why MJ is the smallest part of my investment portfolio. It's because it's high risk. That's why I'm more into safer investments and things like that, right? And holding a lot of cash and real estate. Majority of my focus this last year has been real estate. I've just been dollar cost averaging, not focusing on the charts too much on MJ. Yeah, I do a lot of MJ videos and charting, but that's because I request to do so, right? But I'm not like, oh my God, is it going to drop to another lower low today? If it does, I'll just buy more. My plan is to average down every 10, 20%. And I set my limit order, my limit buys, and I just let it hit. And I never invested any more than I'm willing to lose. And I had realistic expectations, right? On a long-term investment horizon. I understand that I'm investing in the second most riskiest asset class on the planet next to crypto. Crypto's the most riskiest. You could even argue that MJ's even more risky because there's some countries that offer the death penalty. I don't know of any country that offers the death penalty for possession of crypto, for cryptocurrencies, right? What was that guy in the U.S. Got caught with like a little under an ounce in Russia and sentenced to like 15 years in prison or something? Are you kidding me? And people are worried about a $6 billion loss now, like over the last 9 years. And there's still countries that are offering death penalties. Like, come on, give me a break, guys. You're comparing apples to oranges here, and you're not being intellectually honest, right? You need to understand that MJ is still federally illegal in the most important market in the planet, the United States. It's in the same categorization as heroin. A wise man once told me, work hard on yourself, not on your job. If you work hard on your job, you will make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you will make a fortune. Yeah, what is that? Zig Ziglar? I think it's Zig Ziglar. Great quote. Yeah, absolutely. One of the best. Pretty sure it's Zig Ziglar, though. Let's do a quick search. Pretty sure it was Zig Ziglar. Oh, Jim Rohn. Yeah. That's who I was thinking of, actually. Yeah. I've listened to his books, usually his audiobooks. But yeah, Zig Ziglar can't go wrong either. But yeah, Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar were probably my top two favorites for sure. Great quote. Yep. I only own 2, Tilray and HEXO. I might buy Canopy and I have no MSOs. Yeah, well, I think MSOs are going to struggle as well. But again, maybe you want to consider owning MSOS, right? That's an option too, because that invests in a basket, right? So if we take a look at advisor shares, MSOS, ETF. So if you don't know what US MSO to invest into or what you want, like this, and this takes into like grow generation. So retailers and things like that, like they're into, actual selling products and things like that. Where's the holdings at? So here you go. So you go to advisor shares. So MSOS, the ETF, which is on the NASDAQ, I think. NYSE or the NASDAQ, one of the two. You can buy it with US dollars on a US major exchange. And they're investing in all these companies. So Truliev's the top, Curaleaf, Green Thumb, Verano, Cresco, Columbia Care, TerraSend, AYR, Juicy, Innovative Industrial, and the list goes on, right? So if you don't know which one you want to own in the U.S., I would at least consider 100% allocation in the United States, right, in MSOS. So that's a great option for exposure into the U.S. if you don't really know which one you want to go with. That's why it's my biggest holding, because I agree that we just don't know who the winners are going to be and who the losers are going to be. We have a pretty good idea, but you got to think the top, like Truliev's and Cresco's and GTII and Columbia Care, all these companies, they don't even have all of the states figured out in the U.S. yet, right? So there's still so much that remains to be seen. And what's going to happen when Tilray acquires MedMen and when Canopy acquires Acreage? There's so many unknowns. So that's why I feel more comfortable owning MSOS, but I do own more. I do own more Canadian LPs dollar-wise than I do an American MJ. But I have a mix of everything. I have a Canadian ETF. I have an American ETF, HMMJ and MSOS. I have small, medium, large cap licensed producers, so Canadian operators and cultivators and producers. And then I have small, medium, large cap operators in the U.S. And then I have retailers in the U.S. I have retailers in Canada, right? IPR is another one too. It's into real estate. It's a REIT, a real estate investment trust, right? So that's a completely different business model as well. And it benefited tremendously off of the lack of regulation in the U.S. because people couldn't get access to traditional banking. So their business model is they buy a facility from you and they lease it back to you, right? And then they were very, very profitable, and their stock was on fire because of that lack of movement in the regulatory space, right? I'm in at 169. Nice. I don't think any loss that BlackRock and Vanguard are in, or I don't think that any loss, I don't know, stock? You mean stock that BlackRock and Vanguard, or LPs? You must have meant LPs. O's next to the P. Yeah, you must have meant LPs. I don't think any LPs that, oh yeah, you corrected it below. Yeah. So I don't think any LPs that BlackRock and Vanguard are in will fail. They are heavily invested in Molson. Exactly. And look at Molson's stock over the last few months. While every other stock, like Netflix, is down 80%, and the S&P 500 down 20%, and a lot of MJ down 98%. And a lot of the names in monthly downtrend, like the S&P 500 in a monthly downtrend, we're in a monthly uptrend on tap in a big old cup and handle. We could be targeting $85, $84 on Molson Coors stock. So while all these other companies are in monthly downtrends and just brutal slides, let's bring up Netflix for an example. Look at that monthly chart. So back from November, Netflix was down from the high to the low 77%. And now let's take a look at Molson Coors from back in November. October, November. It is up 40%. So very, very peculiar, right? Oh, and check this out. I mentioned this in the POW Group private community today. Where is it? Oh yeah, it wasn't here. Yeah. Okay. So this is the conversation that I'm having with POW Group members, but so this came up. Molson Coors just did some domain name registrations, and I went and did the Whois lookup and everything. You can see it's GoDaddy, but yeah, this is the mail server. So you can see here they just, this was my favorite, Molson Coors HEXO.co. So they just created a domain called Molson Coors HEXO. That's fire, right? How come it's not Molson Coors Tilray? How come it's not Molson Coors just CBD or MJ or, they got Molson Coors. I'm not going to say that word, but you can see it here. Try not to flag the algorithm. Molson Coors MJ, Molson Coors Canna. You got Molson Coors CBD. And then top of the list, Molson Coors HEXO. And then I went through and did some Whois lookups. And you can see that it was through GoDaddy. GoDaddy, MolsonCoorsHEXO.com. Updated creation date, July 15th, 2022. How you like them apples? Go sit on it, haters. HEXO's going bankrupt. Okay, Mr. Mouth Breather. Go back in your cave. So you're clearly living under a rock. Yeah. Anyway, I won't go off on a tangent. And then, yeah, we're just talking about how we're living in a simulation. Honestly, if they didn't want Tilray involved, Scott would have stopped it. I said, yeah, Tilray is the Wall Street bankers poster child with $2.5 billion traded in a single day back in March. Soon that money will come to HEXO, in my opinion. Wasn't the whole point of Scott to broker the deal with Tilray? I said, I believe so, to cut costs and restructure. But as Charlie Bowman, the current CEO of HEXO, said, he didn't do enough in terms of cost cutting. That tells me he was mainly there to facilitate the Tilray deal. Charlie is also based out of Colorado, too, I think. Tilray is now in New York and Wall Street's fave. And New York legalizes rec soon as well. Can't be a coincidence. Also, Adam Arviv was big into Afria and facilitated the Redican and HEXO deal. I said, it's all connected. He said, didn't Arviv try to use green growth brands to take over Afria? I said, either way, Tilray and HEXO are a powerhouse, and Molson Coors backing them fully, and Wall Street as well. I can't see how they could ever lose, to be honest. And he said, it's all a simulation. I said, yep. Afria rejects green growth's hostile takeover bids. Yeah, Adam Arviv and green growth brands tried to take over Afria. They rejected it. And then Adam Arviv and Redican took over HEXO, and then Adam Arviv and Tilray partnered with HEXO. Right? Tilray dropped the Anheuser-Busch Budweiser deal, and then probably knew that it was going to go after HEXO and that they would have Molson Coors. Keep in mind, Molson Coors developed drinks for Coca-Cola. The Topo Chico hard seltzer and the Simply Spiked lemonade are both collaborations with Coca-Cola and Molson Coors. So if Tilray and HEXO and Molson Coors are all working together now, who do you think has the best chance of getting a partnership with Coca-Cola, seeing as how Molson Coors already has 2 drinks in collaboration with Coca-Cola? Again, it's all right here, guys, for us to see, but too many people look at the price and don't understand. They get triggered, they don't understand, logic goes out the window, emotions take over. He said, honestly, I think these guys, Arviv and the Sorayas, are going to find a way to pump these stocks. When that happens, to get the hell out. I personally have a long-term account, short-term account. I won't be selling my long-term until U.S. legalization. Let's see if there's any updates here. Billionaire Elon Musk reveals why he supports meme asset Dogecoin over Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is supported by the governments and Dogecoin was created by a joke for the people, by the people, for the people. Bitcoin is the banker's coin. JP Morgan invested in Ethereum before the retail investors could. Before you and I could buy Ethereum, JP Morgan invested in it before the ICO, before the public could invest in it. So technically, Ethereum's the banker's coin. But personally, I think that some group or group of governments created Bitcoin in the financial crisis. And yeah, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are both the banker's coin, essentially, because we all know that the banks run the world. Central banks run the world. Pumping Molson HEXO. Yeah. What? Yeah, eat that. Woo. Let's go. Pump, eat. Pump, eat, good. All right, gonna wrap it up. Why not hold your long-term after legalization? Well, similar to Canadian legalization, I think there'll be a run-up. So not as soon as they announce it, but once they announce it, and then they'll set like a date, right? Just like Canada did. They announced it in like 2017, early 2017, and then it go live in October 2018, right? So not sell on the announcement, sell on the run-up and leading into. So a couple weeks, couple months before, right? But I have it in 2 different accounts. I have it in a short-term and a long-term. I meant the long-term, I'm not selling my long-term position. Keep in mind, there's a lot less capital in my long-term position as well. I have HEXO, I have Tilray I have all my MJ. I have an MJ long-term and I have an MJ short-term. I'll take, I have price targets set for my short-term targets, and I don't care what the price goes to on my long-term. I'll hold that 5 years, 10 years until the U.S. legalizes and the hype we see running into that. HEXO is way undervalued. If we all wait until legalization, we'll make a lot of money. Yep. Well, you're in Texas, right? So The fact that you love HEXO and you haven't even tried their products or can't even buy them yet. Well, I guess you can buy Trust CBD USA. So if anybody doesn't know, you can just go here, and they have free shipping to 26 states now. So HEXO probably sells in more states than True Leaf. But it's just through hemp CBD, right? Farm Bill, it's legal. So yeah, kind of funny. But they have the actual drinks, or they have the drops as well. But it's all hemp CBD. So that's the only thing you can buy in the US. But imagine if you could try all the Canadian drinks, all their flower, their pre-rolls. That's what they're known for, is their pre-rolls and their beverages. But yeah, like, take a look at this. This is hilarious. Like, I don't know how people, like, they don't open their brains up. It's just kind of funny at the end of the day. Where is it at? So I did a poll. What is your largest MJ stock holding? If the option you're not looking for isn't on the list, let us know. And I can only have 5 options. So if anybody gets offended that I didn't put yours on here, sorry. It only allowed me to do 5. So Tilray was 22% out of 131. Truly was 6%. HEXO was 64%. I just clicked on one of these so we could see it. But yeah, clearly my audience is more focused on Canadian LPs. But then I said, curious how many Tilray investors are from the United States versus Canada. 60 votes, and like 57.5% said in the US, and 42.5% said they're in Canada. And then we've got curious how many Trulies are in the United States versus Canada. So the most are, there's very little people in Canada, so kind of the opposite, right? Not a whole lot of Canadians are interested in the US operators, but a lot of the US people are interested in the Canadian operators. It's just an interesting thing, and not a whole lot of votes either, but it'll get bigger as my channel grows. And then I said, curious on how many HEXO investors are from the United States versus Canada. 40% are only Canadian, and it's a Canadian company. So if 60% of 112 votes are from the US, that's pretty impressive, right? And HEXO won't even let me interview them, right? I've got a ton of other companies that want me to interview them all the time, or they'll say, anytime you want an interview, like Canara or whatever, I'm going to do another one with those. But HEXO won't let me. It's like they know they're going to be so big that they don't even need the interview. They don't even need the publicity, because they don't want to get too big too fast, right? Because the incumbents, the big alcohol, the big tobacco, it's the same thing they're doing with Ripple and XRP. They was getting too big too quick. Like I said, XRP actually passed Ethereum in market cap. So what do? They slap a lawsuit against them. Then they're going to be the first one with legal clarity while they slow it down and get caught up, right? They're doing the same thing with HEXO. HEXO was going too fast. It had market share, #1 market share in Canada. It was growing too fast. And then all these incumbents, the alcohol companies, the tobacco companies, couldn't figure out a way to get into it fast enough to make money off of it. But now Molson Coors and Tilray and HEXO are all working together. They're going to let it run soon, right? And what happens when HEXO starts to sell into the United States? When 60% of these 112 people of retail are in the United States and can't even try it yet. Like, that's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And then I did another poll. What topic are you most interested in? People said, the majority are saying, MJ only. So, obviously, my channel's primarily focused on MJ. That is why. But yeah, a good majority are focused on both. All right. I really appreciate the live stream. You're welcome. I really appreciate you joining. It makes everything that much more worthwhile. So. Fun fact, I don't smoke or drink, but I'm invested in MJ. Yeah, it's because you understand that it's medicine. It has benefits medicinally. It has benefits. It has recreational, right? It's a better alternative to smoking or drinking. And smoking and drinking are poison. So, I'm not I'm not advocating that it's better health-wise. I'm not a doctor, but obviously from smoking, MJ is not, there's going to be carcinogens and everything like that, but it's probably, I would argue, it's a lot less worse for you. And there's ways to do it that are, you can do drinks now. You can drink MJ drinks, right? So, and a lot less toxic and taxing on the body, right? Thanks, guys. So glad I made it today. Yeah, you bet. Well, I wasn't planning on doing a live stream. Here I am on a Friday night, right? Spending my Friday evening coming on here, correcting some of this nonsense. Yeah, just like I said, it all started from that tweet from Matt Lamers. And, you know, he said he didn't invest in MJ either, but it's clear, like even people in the comments were saying he sounds salty on all his MJ posts, right? But if you're somebody who bought Canopy at $2 and then sold it at $67 Canadian, you're laughing all the way to the bank. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to buy it back at $3 now after selling it $67. Now I'm financially free. And, you know, everybody's situation is different. So we just need to sit back and chill. Everybody needs to chill. Maybe you should smoke a J or pick up a Molo or something. Yeah, I'm heading out too. Have a great weekend in Canada. Have a great weekend in the US. Have a great weekend wherever you're tuning in from. Best of luck. Like I said, I hope all MJ does well. I want all MJ in Canada. I want all MJ in the US, abroad, Europe, Mexico, you know, on the east, the west, north, south. I want all of you to do well. Hope you have a fantastic weekend as well. Do you have a video going over your life story, how you came up, where you came from, and where you are? Yeah, so I didn't come from anything. I didn't come from money or anything. But it's funny you asked that because I actually do have a few people have asked me it, but it's funny that you asked me that because I created a reminder today or I think it was yesterday, to do a my story video. So I'll do a story about. Long story short, like I grew up in the middle of nowhere. The closest bike store was 15-minute bike or an hour bike ride one way to the closest convenience store. I lived in the middle of nowhere. It was an hour bus ride one way to my school. My parents used to drive me. I started working when I was 12, roguing potatoes in a potato field, picking out infected potato plants, and then started working at Tim Hortons. And then I went to school, did IT. Then I started some network marketing and things like that. And then I got into real estate. My parents kind of did some flipping of houses and things like that, but I wasn't into that. I was more into just buying low and selling high and looking at opportunity, right? Working hard, but working smart as well. And that's one thing I learned from my parents. It's like rich dad, poor dad, right? I had a rich dad, I had a poor dad. My real dad is kind of poor, but he worked very, very, very hard. My rich dad, he worked very hard, but he also worked really smart. And I learned to make both work for me. And I obviously benefited from, real estate. I bought a couple properties and I didn't have a cosigner. A lot of people say, oh, you had your parents cosign. No, I got both of my mortgages when I was in my early 20s and I didn't have a cosigner. And they never helped me with any of my schooling. I paid off my school before I even graduated. But again, I didn't go to university and spend $20,000-$30,000 like most of my friends to not know what I want to do and party every weekend, right? What a stupid idea. Why would I do that? Why would I not go to college for $3,000 or $4,000 for the whole 2 years and focus on one thing that I think I want to do and not party the whole time and actually get value out of it and go and make things work? And then, I worked in IT for over 10 years and big into real estate. Now I'm still into real estate, doing Airbnb as my next venture, and crypto really turned my life around. And what really helped me was real estate. I really benefited off of the boom over the last 5 years in real estate. And again, if you have all your eggs in one basket, you're not going to benefit from unforeseen, bubbles and huge upswings from different markets. So that's why it's good to have mutual funds, good to have cash. It's good to have, some real estate, some crypto, and I made, life-changing gains off crypto over the last couple of years and since I started investing in 2017, right? So everybody's different, but I also lost a lot of money. I lost a Bitcoin and 2 Ethereum to an exchange called Quadriga in Canada. It ended up being a whole sham. And at one point last year, that would have been worth about $150,000. But did I get quit? Did I get knocked down? No, realized that, oh, Rod, you probably shouldn't have had all your money on one exchange. And I took accountability and responsibility, and it made me stronger. So I'm glad I made mistakes with a smaller account, 4 or 5 figures versus 6 figures. Now I can manage the 6-7 figures more, safely, right? So that's long story short. I'll do a long story version here some point soon. You will always get haters no matter what you do. Yep, that is a fact, no doubt. All right, going to end it there. It's a pleasure as always. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your Friday evening and a great weekend ahead. And I might get another video out. I'm going to be actually building a railing on the top bunk in my Airbnb. I've got a custom-made bunk bed, and I need to get a railing on there so that trying to get it ready for next week. And actually the World Juniors, Hockey Juniors, the World Ice Hockey is in Edmonton. So that starts here next week. And I want to get this done so that next week I can start to capitalize on that. But yeah, World Junior is going to be cool. Cool. Thanks, man. Have a good one. You bet. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining the stream. Thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Pow Group, and we'll see you on the next video, either sometime this weekend, if not on Monday for sure. Take care.